All right, guys, let's welcome the one and only Jonny Santos of Spineshank to the Talk Toomey podcast. Johnny, how are we doing today?
Great, man. How you doing?
I'm doing well, man. You guys, we did speak a little bit, but I mean, you guys, threw a monkey wrench into everybody's plans this year by announcing a 25th anniversary of the Height of Callousness and doing Louder Than Life and Aftershock and all these great festivals, man. So yeah, you got a lot going on now.
Yeah, we had to keep it quiet for a while. I mean, this is fairly a new development too, because for the longest time, Tommy and I've been trying to get this done for years, and the band we went on hiatus in 2012, 2013, I believe, and I've been trying to make this happen since 2017. Because that would have been the actual 20th anniversary of the first Spineshank show ever, which was January 11th, 1997, opening up for Cold Chamber and Fear Factory at the Whiskey. And, I know, Mike at the Whiskey and everything, great friends our whole lives, kind of grew up together and, just playing the Whiskey since we were kids. So it would have been really good. But, some people weren't interested in the band at the time. Obviously, Mike wasn't interested in doing it, and at the time, neither was Rob. So, it was one of those things where Tom and I, we started working on our new band, The Less Dead, and we really wanted to do the Spineshank thing, and but once again, we kind of had this thing for a long time where we didn't ever want to have member changes in the band. And, we figured if we could at least get Rob in to do this, it would be good because Rob's voice is so important to the Spineshank sound, the call and answer thing that him and I have always done over the years. It's just kind of, I feel like personally that it's a part of the Spineshank sound. And he's just got a brutal, heavy voice that's kind of distinctive, I don't think that's with it. We've kind of figured if we could at least get Rob to be in on this, then we could justify calling it Spineshank, with three out of four of the original members. So we had somebody put some feelers out. Well, we were approached and asked, hey, would you be willing to do a Spineshank thing, this and that, and part of us were like, I was kind of like, yeah, but saying the other thing was Tommy's like, do people even care anymore? Is there any relevance to the Spineshank thing? Little did we know,
right?
People are just fucking foaming at the mouth because, our last tour 12 years ago, we couldn't sell out a fucking bar. Like, it was bad. New metal was just it was a no word. Like it was, I think that was the worst timing for us to put out a record as a band and do a tour, because new metal, like, people wanted to separate themselves from it so much. And now it's the fucking bee's knees again. It's like, I'm like, what the fuck is going on here? But
right.
So the powers that be put some feelers out, and immediately within 24 hours, we got offers back from Louder Than Life and Aftershock, and the offers were like, wow, okay. So then it was a matter of, hey, Rob, you want to do this? And it took some time to talk Rob into doing this because, obviously Mike is, retired from music. He just doesn't want to do it anymore. He's been very vocal about that. And we wish Mike the best, whatever, but there just wasn't an option. So once Rob was signed on to do it, we were like, okay, now we can call this Spineshank. We felt, and so then it's just, doing the guitar player thing. And, little Tommy is just an amazing guitar player, and he's ferocious, and he's hungry, and he's family. I mean, the kid was raised on tour,
Right.
So he was an obvious choice. And then, contrary to what Mike said, he was never the only guitar player in Spineshank. Spineshank started as a 2-guitar player band. We used to have another guitar player named Marlo, and I was playing bass and singing. And that's why, when I mentioned there's discrepancies here. And that's why because on a lot of the last runs we did, I started playing guitar on quite a few songs, so we could really recreate what we've done in the studio. So, on the first album, Stain and Mend, those songs were written by Marlo. Those were written by our original guitar player. So there was 2 guitar players in the band. We ended up just never replacing Marlo and getting a bass player instead. I stopped playing and singing. And I was actually in the first rendition of Spineshank, which was Basic Enigma, I was a guitar player. Then I quit the band because I had a kid when I was 16, and then I came back and they had 2 guitar players. So I said, Tommy's like, well, play bass. And I wasn't even a singer. We had a different singer. And then I became the bass player singer. I mean, yeah, the Spineshank lore is pretty crazy. But so anyways, to the point, we got Jason because we wanted to have the 2 guitar player sound again in Spineshank that we originally had in the beginning. And just being able to, I've always been a lover of 2 guitar bands. That's why in Silent Civilian, I play guitar and sing, and we have another guitar player.
Yeah.
I love when, one guitar player is doing something and the other guitar player, when he, if you're doing a theme or a lead or something, that wholeness just drops out if you only have one guitar player. Very few bands, in my opinion, have really been able to pull that off. One, like Pantera's pulled it off, Van Halen's pulled it off, but
those are the 2 that I immediately went to in my head.
yeah. But I'm saying that's a whole, we're not Pantera, we're not fucking Van Halen. So we got, Jason's a great friend. Known him since the beginning of the Chimera days. We took those guys out on a lot of their first tours.
Yeah.
Memory serves me correct. I'm pretty sure we took them on tour before they were even signed.
I think Mark Hunter's been on the podcast a bunch, and he always talks about, I think he basically just said, "Hey, will you guys take us on tour?" And you said, "Sure, let's go." And Mark was like, "Oh shit, okay."
It was like that night at that show, and there was I think there was 2 weeks of dates left.
Yeah,
and we're like, fucking pack it up, get in the van, and follow us. So
yeah,
and then we took him to Europe and great guys, but Jason was a great guitar player. He had a lot to do with that first Chimera record, and he was very enthusiastic about doing this with us, and we thought he was a great fit, and he's such a great guitar player. I mean, he's just, that guy's got a fucking tight right hand, and I'm just like, okay, because I didn't want to play and sing on this Height of Callousness reunion tour. I think personally, it's weird to see Spineshank with me playing guitar.
Right.
I've always been more of a front man in the band, running around being an idiot. The same way it would be weird to see me just singing in Silent Civilian. You know what I'm saying? So, and I wanted to bring, as because it's only 3 of us. We're missing one original member. I wanted to try and bring as much authenticity to this reunion, this celebration of 25 years of Height of Callousness. I wanted to bring as much authenticity to the reunion as possible, and people just remember me as this frontman from that era of Height of Callousness. I'm probably gonna, just rock the red spiky hair again. I don't know. I really kind of want, because let's face it, this is something nostalgic, right? So I kind of feel like, well, let's really give it the most authentic, look it can be at this point. You know what I'm saying? So, and I think it's fun. I think it's gonna be really fun. So, but that's how the whole thing came about.
Yeah, it's funny you're talking about it right now is like this big new metal renaissance.
Yes.
You know, my wife and I went and saw Deftones a couple weeks ago and sold out arena. And I'm like, Deftones selling out arenas? Like, what's going on here?
Yeah,
and then,
right.
but like we looked around at the crowd, you know, and it's, you know, it's 50-50 old dudes and kids. And I'm like, where are these kids coming from, man? And they're all wearing baggy clothes. And, you know, and it's funny, man, my stepson just turned 18, but for Christmas, he asked for a pair of Jinkos, you know?
Shit.
So we actually like found him an authentic pair of Jinkos, and they were massive. And I'm like, you know, I was like, I'll show you the photos of me and your mom, you know, like when you were younger, when we were younger, and you know, you may not want to make these same fashion choices like we did, but you know, get some clothes that fit, kid. But it's,
go ahead. I'm sorry.
No. It's just wild. It's all back around again.
I can't believe Jinko hasn't just made a comeback. They'd be making a fortune right now, right?
Well, I mean, they're trying. I mean, they've come back. I mean, they're a company again, but yeah, I guess people are more into buying old, you know, the old Jinkos or something. Yeah, you gotta have some old ones, man. You can't be buying the new ones. But yeah, you know, and too, you know, even
it's vintage wear now.
Right. Oh, hey. Dude, it's the wildest thing when you say like vintage, blah blah blah, and it's something you played with as a kid or something.
Yes.
I mean, you know, I got Castle Grayskull behind me, you know, and like, you know, that's probably from an antique store. But you know, and you know, you talked about some of your last shows in like 2012 with Spineshank, and the last like primer shows I did was like 2007. I know they did shows after I was in the band, but like, you know, we were playing, you know, Joe's Bar and Grill to like nobody. You know, and then anytime we post anything on Facebook or whatnot, it's just like, please come back, you know, do this, that, the other thing, man. So it's wild how the nostalgia and everything's, you know, new metal is back.
Yeah. Well, you know, it's funny. Because it is hard to come back. It's just doing this is way harder than I thought it would ever be. You know, Tommy said it best in an interview not too long ago. You know, we mourned like the death of Spineshank in a weird way because we thought nobody cared about us anymore.
Mm-hmm.
We never quit. That was the one thing. The band never broke up. I never quit Spineshank. Neither did Tommy or Rob. We've always still been maintained that we're members of the band. We just, you know, I guess maybe part of us was hoping that something like this would happen again someday, and it has. So. That's the one thing, though. It was kind of like, you know, the way Tommy mentioned it, it's almost like we mourned the death of, you know, our genre of music in a weird way. And people got, you know, we got used to doing other things and working on newer projects. And, you know, I've been doing a lot of production work now. And Tommy works. He's got, you know, he's got a great thing going on. And people got mortgages and shit and fucking
right.
kids. And, you know what I'm saying? And, you know, I guess there's always a part of you that wanted this for bands like yours and mine to become popular again. And I get, you know, it started and I thought this is just a joke when I started seeing these new metal style bands start coming out. I'm like, this is just it's got stronger and stronger. Like, I don't know how long it's going to stay.
Right.
I don't know if this is just a fad because, I mean, the way I kind of look at it is where in rock and roll history has a genre ever repeated itself the way that this is happening? Because I can't, you know, rock and roll started in the 50s. But if you look every decade, rock and roll has it's changed, you know, and I just say rock and roll because that's what, in the end, that's what this all is. So this is the first time that I've ever fucking seen a genre go away for fucking 10, 15 years and then come back stronger than it was before. You know, when I see Deftones like selling out arenas, I'm like, wow, these guys, like, some of these bands are bigger than they've ever been.
Yeah.
And when I see, you know, like, you know, Spineshank, it's fucking crazy to me, dude. So it's like, you know, when we announced this on the 30th of January, our Spotify listeners was only at like 218,000. And that was like 2.5 months ago. And now it's close to 300,000 in just a couple months. We've gained like 60,000 new listeners. Like, that's just crazy to me, bro. Like, it's just like, wow. And then we announced, you know, the Louder Than Life thing. And people are just really happy about it. And then I got this whole slew of new fans on my socials, like that are just kids.
Yeah,
That look like us when we were kids. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So I think it's really cool. I think it's really awesome to see, bands like Cold Chamber and Mudvayne and Static and all of our peers, from back in the day out there, getting another chance to do it. Cause you don't see that in music. Very rarely do you see our bands able to have a second run at this, and it's like the weird shit. Like, it's like cool to like Creed now. Like, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Cause I remember back in the first day, like everyone's like, well, Creed, that shit's lame. And there's not like, well, 10 million people bought that record. So it's like, I don't know. But yeah, and now it's like they're once again, they're the bee's knees. So I think this is great for a lot of bands out there, especially bands that were our peers and that were part of the same movement that we were in. And I think I'm just really personally, I'm just really happy to be able to be a part of it.
Yeah. And I think you're right too. Like where so many new bands coming out have that new metal influence to them. And then there's so many, like, even like metalcore bands that all of a sudden have like a new metal element to it. And then it's funny in the roughly 10 years I've been doing this podcast, it's like the amount of times that that dudes have come on here and been like, oh, huge Primer 55 fan. And I'm like, you're in a fucking death metal band. Like, how did you ever get into that? But it all, how many of these deathcore dudes got into this stuff because of Linkin Park and they're all like, all of their influences starting to come out again and stuff. And, when you were talking about, you didn't see a scene kind of come back. I mean, hair metal kind of had a renaissance, but not new, but new bands didn't sound like them. They exactly. People were still going to see, Rat and Bon Jovi again as like, we love these bands. We're going to go see them again, but new bands didn't sound like those. So I think that's a pretty good statement with all the newer bands kind of having a lot of new metal influences.
Yeah. And it's, like I said, man, I think this whole resurgence, I think it's very uncharted territory. I'm really curious to see where it goes because I think, like Tom and people have asked us if we're going to do a new record or not, because at this point we just wanted to do this and go out on, we never got the chance to give Spineshank a Warrior's death. You know what I'm saying? It was, that's the one thing, like we never got a chance to really go out on a high note, and so when we first started, getting ready to do all this, they're doing another record wasn't really even talked about. It was more of just like, hey, let's just go out and do this record in its entirety and, give the band a, give it its Warrior's death, if you will, like going out on a strong note. You know what I'm saying? It's instead of just falling into obscurity and playing.
When's the first show back?
I believe it's the second week of Texas. I think it's the 9th to the 10th. It's in Texas of July.
Okay.
Yeah. We'll be going out in July. So we now it's got to the point. So we're right now. I'm in the studio finishing up some edits and mixing the first Spineshank song since 2012.
Oh shit! Wow.
So we have one new song coming out because I think the way that we feel that we'll know is let's see how a new Spineshank song does. If it's accepted well, and people are excited about it, if it does well, then maybe there could be another album, in the works, or if anything, maybe even an EP. Who knows? Mm-hmm. But it's kind of weird how, like I said, it's uncharted territory. It's like, is this here to stay? Is this going to be, like a staple in heavy music, or is this just a fashion fad for kids today?
Yeah.
So I think once we release this new song and tour for the, the better part of this year, then I think we'll know if we're going to put a new record out next year or not. You know, I would like to, but I don't. I only want to put a record out if it's going to matter. I don't want to put a record out if nobody's going to give a shit. You know, because I mean, it's just like some, you know, not comparing us to the size of like a you know, the Rolling Stones or anything, but you know, if I was going to go see the Rolling Stones, I'm not too concerned with anything that they've done, you know, post 1979. You know, you know what I'm saying? Like,
sugar and get off.
You know, I think you hit a certain point in your career as a band when you have a legitimate and constant following that people just want to go hear the hits. You know, music. It's like I've noticed, you know, I'll put music out or whatever, and people are like, oh man, it doesn't sound like Height of Callousness. It's like, dude, me putting out the same record twice is not going to make you young again. You know what I'm saying? Because that's how it is, you know. So it's just like, you know, very few bands can get away with putting the same record out. Like AC's done it, you know, Slayer's done it. You know what I'm saying? Like, but it works. And that works for them, and it's fucking awesome. But for me, it doesn't. So it's real. The thought of putting some new Spineshank like record out there, it's exciting, but at the same time, we're gonna see how this goes. You know, like we're going into this with no expectations. It seems it's really fun for us to do, and I think it's a chance for a lot of people that have become Spineshank fans in the last 10, you know, decade or so that have never seen us to get to see us. And being that Height of Callousness was by far our best received album, I think I can think of a better record to do in its entirety out of our catalog. So,
yeah, I mean, you know, it was wild kind of watching, you know, the rise of Spineshank. You know, like I told you prior to coming on, you know, I mean, I literally called a Metal Maniacs ad to get a cassette, you know, in what, 96, 97, something like that, you know. So like, it's like, you know, I was in on the ground floor on some Spineshank, and it was awesome to kind of.
That's right. Do you still have it?
No, you know what? I don't. I might because I'm a hoarder, but ask my wife. But you know, it's funny. I've got like my podcast studio area, and she'll come down here and kind of look around, and I could just see it on her face. Like, why can't you just throw all this stuff away? Like all my, you know, boxes of memorabilia and all this other crap.
Yeah.
But
yeah, I know. I get it. If anybody has that stuff, it's Tommy. Tommy has Tommy has everything pretty much I think we've ever did as far as the demos were concerned. The only thing that I know Tommy and I don't have is basic Enigma demos. And we have a couple of people out there said they have it, and we're like, we got to get this from you, you know, like at least photocopy the cassette thing. But yeah, Tommy, if anybody had the demos, that all the demo stuff would be Tom. I was in a band before Primer, and I was always the guy that gave all my CDs away. Like, hey, check out my band. And then like, when the dust settled, I didn't have a copy. And I finally had to find a copy of our EP on eBay the other day. Like I literally found it like 2 months ago, and it popped up on eBay, and I'm like, boom, I'll take that. Yeah, dude. No, I feel you. I've had to do that with my own stuff with both my bands. Like, see, all my stuff's off my walls right now because I'm moving into a new house. But like, I have everything framed, you know, that I've ever done, and I decided to do this like 3 or 4 years ago. But I have anything. And it's like, you can't just go to the store and buy a fucking Height of Callousness CD anymore.
Right.
Like these things are fucking like collector's items, you know, like whatever. So I had to do the same thing, fucking eBay. I was snatching shit up, and I'm over here buying my own shit. Right. You know? And with the vinyl releases too, like I had to actually order the vinyl, you know, like paying for my own fucking, like my friends are just like, so what you're telling me is you're paying for your own music. And I go, absolutely, dude.
Right.
I'm a huge supporter.
Too fun, man. Yeah, man, 25 years I had a calluses. That's crazy. And then obviously with the Union Underground, 25 years of an education in rebellion. Yeah. That's a monster tour, putting you guys together. And obviously with this first leg is Edema on that also, man. So that's going to be a one fun night of new metal.
Yeah, it is. I mean, knowing Brian, we've toured together a few times back in the day. Back, when even John Moyer was still in the band,
Oh, wow, yeah.
and great guy. I just, nothing bad to say about. I talk to Brian quite often. We're trying to make sure that this tour is going to be fun for everybody. We're talking about, doing a song with them and then doing a song with us, and just really trying to make the show happen. And, the Edema guys, known them forever too. We opened up for Edema and Power Band back in, I want to say it was 2003, 2002, somewhere around that area. I think we were touring Self-Destructive Pattern at that point. So, good, known those guys forever. I love Big Meat, Dave, great dude. And the tour is selling well. I'm like, holy shit. Fucking, tickets are fucking selling. Like, oh my God, and the Drowning Pool tour in the UK, that tour is already selling out. So it's like, what the fuck is going on, man? It's like, holy shit balls. So yeah, dude, there's a lot of, for anybody out there that sees the dates for the Union tour that it doesn't, if it's not coming to your area, don't worry. There's a second leg being booked right now. And there's going to be some other stuff that I can't really talk about that's going to be happening too. So we will definitely be hitting every corner of the country, and at this point probably start doing some stuff, a lot of stuff overseas. I know there's talk about doing Australia now. There's talk about doing Japan, and definitely want to get down to South America too. So,
oh yeah,
I still don't think Canada's going to let us back in the country. True story.
There's a tariff on Spineshank.
Fuck yeah. There you go. That's the story we're going with.
I would love to get get down to South America, man. Anytime you see anytime you see those crowds getting into anything, Pantera, Limp Bizkit, whatever you want to see, man, it's just like, those people love music. They love it on a level that we definitely don't.
They know how to fucking concert. You know what I'm saying? They know how to fucking metal concert. It's, I really, really, really want to do the whole South American thing, because there's such a strong fan base down there. I mean, I think Americans, as Americans, we don't realize how spoiled we are when it comes to being able to go see bands and stuff. Like, that's why when you go to places where they don't get a whole lot of shows, it's insane. Those are always the best shows. When I'm from LA, it's my hometown, but LA crowds can be difficult. A lot of them just want to stand there and, it's like, impress me, because we're just so spoiled with all the bands that come through. So I really enjoy playing places that don't get a whole lot of shows, like even in America, like when we're doing the secondary markets or the other markets, we played some shows in the middle of fucking nowhere, and I'm like, oh shit, this is not gonna end. This is not gonna end well, and it ends up being like the raddest show ever. So, like, I'm really, really stoked to possibly be able to go to other parts of the world, because up until now, I think Spineshank's only been to Europe 5 or 6 times, and it's just been Europe or the UK. We've never really got to like I said, do the Australia, Japan, South America thing. And just from friends of ours and other bands that have done those places, they're just like, you guys got to go. They're all, and that's just something that we can hopefully like really be able to accomplish this time around.
Oh yeah, definitely. It was funny, man, doing that podcast with Ro. Ro Kohley, and dude, I mean, he's obviously like a social butterfly
Whoa!
anyway.
Yeah.
There you go. But you know, I would be like, hey man, can you record on Tuesday? And he'd be like, oh man, I'm going to see Cradle of Filth. I'm like, well, what about Wednesday? Oh man, I gotta go see Opeth.
Yeah.
And blah, blah, you know, like, all right, what about Thursday? Oh man, you know, if I could, you know, Cold Chambers play, you know, just like every day. Like,
Yeah.
he was like, maybe I can fit you in between 5 and 6 on Thursday, you know, like.
Yeah.
Between gigs and stuff, man, he was always going to concerts, man. So yeah, LA is a different world.
It is. I just saw Ro not too long ago. I flew down to LA to be a part of the Roadrunner documentary.
Yeah, I can't wait for that.
Yeah, so we got to hang out for a day or so and shoot the shit, and then he just turned 50, and his wife hit me up, and I sent a little video wishing him a happy birthday. Ro's fucking awesome, man. He's been there, you know, since day one with the street team, and he just did a killer job. And he's just a fucking great guy. And he's always been somebody that has been completely brutally honest with us. You know, when I have, you know, with the new project that Tommy and I are working on, you know, we'll record something, and I know I can trust Ro for his opinion, and you know, it's completely unbiased, and it just, you know, he's not going to fucking yes man me like some people would, you know, just be like, oh, that sounds great. No, I don't want to. I want to hear what you really think. And so I bounce. He's not. I don't want to say guinea pig, but he's kind of like, I like to bounce shit off of him, because he's going to tell me, like, you know, me and Tommy write something, we're too close to it sometimes, you know. It's like, hey, well, I'm going to send it to Ro and see what he thinks. And Ro will be like, yay. Or he'll be like, it's just missing something, dude, you know, or something. He's just a great guy. He's just is. And he's, you know, he's built himself quite the career and the little empire that he has with War Machine. And you know, I just have nothing but love for Ro. He's just fucking rad. Well,
yeah. The first time I interviewed Mikey, he was like, do you know Ro Kohley? And I'm like, no, I don't know who that is. And he was like, dude, he goes, you guys called that line like back to back, like, you know, they called to get the Spineshank demo. And he was like, you got to meet this dude, man. He's so cool. And he, you know, used to work at Roadrunner, blah, blah, blah. And then, like, you know, he hooked me up with him. And then, you know, Ro helped me out a ton with, you know, getting guests on the podcast and stuff over the years. So,
awesome.
Yeah, man, Ro rules, man. Ro's a great dude.
Yeah, he's one of those guys in the industry that I just love, you know, because there's a lot of fake people. I don't need to tell you that, you know.
They're everywhere.
And he's one of those that is just, it's awesome to know that there are people like him in the industry. So, and yeah, fuck yeah.
Awesome.
Brown Satan.
Yeah, right. The old Brown Satan. Yeah, I was on that. I watched a little bit of that video, the 50th birthday video. I sent mine in, and I had Ellefson do one, so that was kind of cool. And you know, it's just awesome to have. You know, honestly, I watched a lot of that video, and I just texted him. I was like, dude, you are so loved. Like, and he's like, oh, I know. Like, he's like, I don't. He's like, he said he was crying like a baby at the party, you know, with that video playing. It's a lot. You know, it's a lot of people in that thing.
Yeah, I haven't seen the video. I mean, and I'm you know, I don't live in LA anymore, so it's kind of hard I don't get to go to those things and stuff sometimes, you know. But
yeah, it's just up on. He threw it up on YouTube, so
yeah, I might have to go check it out now. I saw some pictures, and it looked like a good time. You know? But
cool, man. But yeah, fucking all the love around Spineshank right now. I mean, anytime, you know, you guys post anything about anything, people are like, I can't fucking wait, you know. And I love seeing it, man. So just kind of tell everybody where to go, follow the band, you know, find out new tours, all that good stuff.
Yeah. So we are all on socials, you know, obviously. The main place to get, like, so what's really cool is we've got our merch store up on our website. So it's spineshank.net. And it's kind of a one-stop shop. It's got all the tour dates are going to be up there, you know, current news and whatever. So every time tour date's confirmed, so it'll be right up there. There's also the merch on there is right now all the merch on there is geared to the 25th anniversary thing. So there's some really cool stuff up there. And we're getting old school, and we're bringing back like the windbreakers and shit like that, which is something that I haven't seen a band do in a while. I know that Deftones used to have really cool windbreakers back in the day.
Yeah, I think everybody at some point had that windbreaker. Like I definitely had one or two of them over the years. Yeah.
Yeah, I have an unhealthy amount of Deftones clothing, but
yeah, me too.
I mean, fucking always just been a huge fan. So you go to spineshank.net. Also, on Instagram, we finally, the band finally has an Instagram page, because back in 2012 or 2013, we only had a Facebook page. Instagram wasn't as big as it is now. So you can, on Instagram, it's Spineshank Band. So, and there's always constant updates going on with that right there. And obviously the Facebook, Spineshank on Facebook. And so that's that. I mean, definitely look out for the new song when it comes out.
Is there roughly an idea when that'll be out?
Well, here's the thing. What I can tell you is we're gonna we will have rough mixes to listen to amongst ourselves here this week. So we're hoping to have the song completely like mixed, mastered, and ready to go in the next 2 weeks. So that I can say. I kind of would, if I was a betting man, the fact that we're going out in July, I think I could see this song coming out sometime late May or June. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So, I mean, don't quote me on that. They might be like, no, it's not. I don't know. I've seen.
Not ready.
There's this thing called the Spineshank curse, and trust me, it's still around.
Well, let's leave off on let's head off on like one of my favorite shows I've ever seen, and one of the tours I've seen. I saw the tour a couple of times, or saw a couple of shows on that tour, and I get to say I saw Fear Factory, System of a Down, Head PE, and Spineshank on one bill. Dude. And my God, like I still to this day I still can say that I saw that tour in small clubs in the South.
I can't believe any of us survived that tour. There's shit that happened on that tour that we can never ever talk about ever again. I mean, we had done some touring up until that point, but holy fucking shitballs. That tour was insane. And the amount of Goldeneye that was played just between us and Head PE. I mean, that was brutal. That was seriously brutal. But just, I think a lot of it was a fun tour because everybody on that tour were friends. Everybody hung out when we weren't on tour with the guys in these other bands. And when you took, back then, you also remember back then, what was that, 25 years ago? Nobody was sober yet.
That's right. Oh, yeah. I know. I remember.
Nobody was sober, and it was a different time. And I have some great memories. I can have some great pictures from that tour, too. There's a picture out there floating around with me, Chavo, and Dougie from Head PE with fucking daggers and swords.
Nice.
Like, holding it's still circulating around there because we had our own skateboard gang called the Daggers.
Nice.
I'm just remembering a whole bunch of other things that happened that I just can't talk about.
It's funny. I remember going into that show not really getting System of a Down. Like I heard them and I was like, I really don't get it. I was like, I don't know if I like this or not. And then I saw them and I was like, okay, I get it.
Now you get it.
I get it. And now I'm a fan. Like and that was like Serge had like the longer hair. He was wearing like this space shirt every day. Like I saw the tour and stuff. But yeah, I mean, what a wild run there.
I think we took that same tour to Europe, except instead of Head P, Static X jumped on it.
Oh, nice.
And that was cool because I remember, we were in Paris, and I remember hanging out with Wayne and Chavo, and I think Serge was there, and we're all smoking a joint or something. And it was like, man, isn't that crazy? Like 2 years ago, half of us were homeless, and we were playing. We were fucking playing on fucking Tuesday nights, at the Troubadour, at half a fucking cap house, and here we are, fucking 2 years later, smoking a joint in France on a sold out tour. It was really cool, and those days there was so much camaraderie between all of us LA bands. It was nice. It really was. It's not. I don't think I've ever seen it the same since. That whole scene that we all came out of was really, really kind of a special time, and shit, man. We got some. I remember when we were in Basic Enigma, we were playing shows with System of a Down. Like, I've known the System guy since I was like fucking 14, 15 years old.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And then when we started Spineshank, and then I remember us, System of a Down, and Static X all got signed within like a month of each other. It was crazy.
Nice.
Yeah, it was fucking good times.
And it's funny, history repeats itself, because, a couple of years ago, you weren't thinking of Spineshank, and then now you're going on tour playing big shows again. So here we are again.
Who would have thought? Who would have thought?
Who would have thought, man?
Yeah. So,
awesome. Don't die. You got tour coming up.
I know, bro. Like I was sick. Like I'm not moving. I was sick, like dude from Ferris Bueller's Day Off. Sick, like
They put a mirror into your nose to see if it fogs up or whatever. Like,
yeah. But
I was like, you kind of sound like Steve from Skin Lab. Hey, he's got that like low like.
Yeah. Yeah. Fucking. I was just like, oh man, I had to cancel on last week. I'm not doing it this week. Get your ass up and get some Mucinex in you and fucking do what you got to do. I was like, so.
Bye. Well, man, I'll let you get out of here on that. But man, Jonny, it's always a pleasure to talk to you, and
absolutely,
hopefully see you on tour soon.
Great. It was great talking to you too, man. Thank you.